Okay, hi, my name is Bruce Allen. I'm Chief Executive of HETAS and Woodsure. My job is to make sure that the organisations are looking after safety in the environment when it comes to biomass and burning wood and solid fuels.
So, Bruce, some quite stark statistics out today. How can we be aware of this stuff? How can we try and keep our homes and our families safe?
That's a great question. Thanks. It's really quite a simple message. If we burn the right fuels and the right appliances and get our chimneys swept regularly and our appliances serviced, that will be all the protection you need. The sort of people you need to work with are HETAS approved professionals, and they're all available on a search engine on the website.
Why? I mean, the statistics kind of speak for themselves, but why does this matter? Why is this an issue? Isn't it just a case of, you can kind of chuck anything on and it will burn? We've been burning for centuries. Why does this make a difference now?
I think the issue is we're much more environmentally aware and much more safety aware these days. It's like, would you put diesel in your petrol BMW? Well, no, you wouldn't. The sorts of appliances that we use these days are much more modern, much more technical. They do a great job. They're very efficient, and you just need to make sure that you put the right fuel on the right appliance to make sure it gives you the right performance, saves you money in the long run. You get more heat from the appliance, you get a better flame from the appliance, it's safer. It limits the amount of servicing and chimney sweeping you have to do. So basically, it's better for safety and better for the environment.
So, in reading this story today, I've learned a new word. I've learned the word particulate.
Yeah.
Which is really something that stands out to me as something we need to be aware of when it comes to health. What are the health implications of this? What do we need to know?
Okay, it's something that the government is very well aware of across a wide range of areas. So you've got smoke and exhaust fumes from vehicles. You've got smoke from people's chimneys. You've got aerosol sprays and all of those things. And what the problem is that whenever you burn a fossil fuel, you get smoke. And the particles in the smoke are called particulates. And the very small particulates are the ones that could get in your lungs and cause you health problems. And therefore, what we're trying to do is persuade people to use dry wood where the particulates are much less. In fact, they can be a quarter or a fifth of the particulates emitted from wet wood. So the whole deal is to burn dry wood, much fewer particulates, less pollutants, better heat from your fire, more efficiency, greener because it's carbon saving, because it's biomass or wood. And really what we're asking people to do is make real benefits by making one small change. So we've got one small change is use the right fuel, which is dry wood or smokeless fuels. And that's one small change is much, much better for health and for safety and for the environment.
Now, I think for some of our audience, this will make complete sense. And for some, it perhaps won't. The vision I have when I think of having your chimney swept is that kind of old, perhaps dated image, Victorians, people dancing on roofs. How often should we be having our chimneys swept, and how even the process, has that changed, or is it kind of still the same?
It has changed. I mean, the modern chimney sweep that you'd find on the website, the HETAS approved chimney sweep, is generally a very sort of experienced and often qualified individual these days, and they've gone through training, possibly with their trade associations. They're given advice on the tools and brushes and types of things that they need, the vacuum cleaners, and there's mechanical ways of sweeping chimneys as well as sort of manual ways. The whole thing's moved on quite a long way, and this sort of individual will give you great advice on burning in your home in order to keep you safe in terms of fire, and in order to make you able to burn responsibly, so that you're looking after the environment as well. And all of those things contribute to a nice sort of efficient appliance and use of fuel. These are people who will really help you, and you need to take their advice.
And how often should we have them swept, do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're burning wood, the general advice from HETAS is to have 2 chimney sweepings a year. The best thing to do is to get your approved chimney sweep in, let him sweep the chimney, or her, because there's quite a lot of ladies chimney sweeps as well. Let them sort of see what it's like, see what they're, see what they're getting from the chimney sweeping, and let them advise you. But generally, the advice is twice a year if you're burning wood, particularly at the end of the burning season. And often early on the following year, to make sure it's safe before you start using the appliance again.
So it's a bit like we almost need to think of it, if we're not at this stage, we almost need to think of it like we would have if we had a gardener or a window cleaner. They'll kind of advise us on when it's good and keep an eye on things.
Yeah, these guys are pretty good. They're very experienced. They'll be able to help in all sorts of ways in terms of advising on fuel, servicing of the appliance, sweeping of the chimney. They're a great source of information, and they're very experienced, and they will help a great deal, and happy to advise.
So Bruce, my final question to you is what advice would you give to somebody who is a bit suspicious of an appliance that they've got at home, that it might not meet the regulations and standards that they need? What advice would you give to that person?
Okay, well, first of all, if there is a safety concern, you need to get a HETAS registered installer or maintenance business in to really check it out and check if you are safe. After that, it's you may be talking about you've got an old appliance, and we know that older appliances are dirtier in the way they burn. They're not modern. They're not sort of as well engineered. So the modern appliances are, I would say, quite a lot cleaner, significantly cleaner. In fact, a very modern appliance can reduce particulate emissions by 80%, as opposed to an old sort of open fire or something. So the very old open fires, very old stoves, we are advising people to get them changed, because the new ones will be a lot cleaner and a lot more environmentally responsible. In terms of safety, like I say, if you've got any concern about safety, get in a HETAS registered installer or engineer, and they'll be able to do a safety check and give advice.
But surely, Bruce, the untrained eye, this might just be, we've all had those instances with boilers where, it's about making a fast buck. Surely it's going to benefit people like yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be great if that were so? I mean, HETAS is a not-for-profit organisation, as is Woodsure. The whole point of this is that we're trying to improve the environment and safety at the same time. People like HETAS and Woodsure don't actually get any money out of it, but as a not-for-profit organisation with a wish to sort of increase safety and enhance the environment and look after people's health, then that's our message, that we really want people to make that one small change. And it really will help them. And in fact, it will help them in their pocket, because, if you're burning the right fuel in the right appliance, you're not going to spend excessively on maintenance. You're going to get better heat for your buck, better bang for your buck, better heat output from your log. And this really is about sort of encouraging people to help themselves, and it will be of benefit to them, for no real additional cost to themselves.
Take a look. I suppose it almost sounds like it's one of those things you don't want to bury your head in the sand with something like this.
No, it's like if your brakes were dodgy on the car, you'd take it to a garage, wouldn't you? It's that sort of thing, let's make sure you're safe and comfortable. And 9 times out of 10, it's certainly nothing to worry about and something quick to fix. But occasionally you do come across a chimney that's collapsed inside or something, and a HETAS engineer or a HETAS chimney sweep will find that out very quickly.
Perfect. Bruce, where can we go for more information on both the insight that you've got, but also if we've got any concerns or would like a bit of advice?
The 2 main places will be the website. So we've got hetas.co.uk or woodsure.co.uk. And there's also a Ready to Burn website. Just simply search Ready to Burn on your search engine. And those 3 websites will give you all that you need, and will interface with each other and take you places where you need to go for more information.
Hi, I'm Helen Bentley-Fox. I'm a director of Woodsure, which is a non-profit organisation which strives to raise the quality of wood fuel in the industry.
Thanks, Helen. Now, for those of us who don't know, and I'll be honest, I am one of those people, could you explain the difference between wet and dry wood? I feel like it's not as simple as one is wet and one is dry. I feel like there's a bit more science to it.
A recently felled tree can be up to 60% moisture content. And as we all know, water doesn't burn, so it needs to be dried in some way. This can be done by air drying, commonly known as seasoning, not the salt and pepper kind, or it can be kiln dried. And in order to make it really efficient in your stove, it needs to be less than 20% moisture content. Dry wood is easier to light and produces more heat, so it's more efficient, better for your pocket. And burning dry wood produces much less smoke or particulates. Smoke and particulates are bad for your lungs and air quality.
So Bruce and I talked a little bit about particulates. From your point of view, what is the damage that they can cause, Helen?
Particulates can harm your lungs or your heart in particular, but generally, I mean, if you're asthmatic, you know when there's particulates in the air, don't you?
So in terms of when we burn wet wood, what are the implications? What does it do to our health, to the environment, to, I suppose, safety as well? What does it do to all of those things?
And burning wet wood is more smoky, so that obviously impacts on air quality. It's detrimental to your health, as I said previously, these particulates can form soot or tar in your wood burner and chimney. So you've got a risk of chimney fire. So the main thing is to try and reduce that impact by buying ready to burn firewood. So that's firewood that's got a moisture content of 20% or less, and make sure that your appliance is maintained and your chimney is swept. And this is about the right time of year to do it, before you start your fires in the evening. If you've got an open fire or an old appliance, think about changing it to one that's more efficient and better for the environment, and use a HETAS installed registered professional to install it.
Is the wood that you buy as dry wood, is it more expensive?
It's more efficient, so you're likely to use a lot less logs when you put it on there. So if you were trying to buy it by weight, we'd never advise anybody to buy something by firewood by weight, because obviously the drier it is, the lighter it is. So try and buy it on volume, and you'll find that you'll use less logs on your fire to get the heat out of it.
When it comes to where we buy wood from, are there any signs we should be looking out for? I'm just thinking of, you've got things in the food industry like the little red tractor, or kind of you've got the Union Jack to say that something's been grown here. Are there any images, symbols, signs that we should be looking out for?
It's now easier than ever before because there's the ready to burn logo. Ready to burn wood means it's certified to be dry. If you've got ready to burn on your manufactured fuels, it means it meets the emissions and the sulfur content standards.
Now, my final question to you, Helen, is really about the scale of the problem. So how big is this issue, and do you think enough is being done to tackle it, both from a personal point of view, but when we look at things like the environment, we're all becoming much more aware of it. Is enough happening?
Well, obviously there's been legislation put in place so that all fuel has to be certified ready to burn, so the wood fuel and the manufactured fuels. Once people have burned dry wood, they won't go back because it's easy to light. You're going to find that you're not tripping out to the log store every 5 minutes. It's better for your pocket and it's better for the air that we breathe. Using dry wood, you're reducing the impact on health. There's less smoke and less particulates. It's better for the environment and better for fire safety.
So it seems to me it's quicker, easier, faster, warmer,
Yes.
and a bit more cost efficient, which we can all do with in this day and age. So it makes complete sense, and it's legislated. So we shouldn't be in any way getting wet wood in this day and age.
Exactly.
Perfect. Helen, where could we go for more information? I think really about the science behind all of this to help us wrap our heads around it.
Ooh, now there's a question. Well, the Woodsure website is a good place to start, and the Ready to Burn website as well. So you can just put those into a search engine and find them.
Perfect.